Hi, welcome to the Lorcana Muses podcast. These are your hosts. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Brittany.
We have a lot to get through today. I'm really excited. I feel like a lot has happened in the last week between set championships and set 5 reveals, news coming out from Ravensburger.
And the fall of the squirrel.
No! Poor Bucky. Rest in peace. He will be remembered. Should we start there then?
I think we shall.
I cannot believe what they did to that squirrel. I agreed that something should have happened because he was broken. I feel like people started definitely finding ways around him and dealing with him. But to not only remove his ward and move his cost to 3, but then to make it so you can't even do the ability unless you shift the Floodborn was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think if you had chosen 2 out of the 3 changes, I think any of that would have been okay. Making it to where you have to do the shift ability. I do think that was the intention behind the shift in general. That's what Ravensburger actually said. But then also moving it to 3 and removing the ward, it was just
overkill.
It was an overkill.
He still only hits for 1 and his health is 1, and that's, I think, overkill. They should have just banned the card and kind of make it their first ban and a really cool ban, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I do think that as a card that has dominated the meta for pretty much the entirety of this set, there were answers and they did exist, and more people were finding ways around that deck as we got farther into the timeline of knowing how to play against it.
Totally.
But I do feel like, as someone who really did not enjoy playing against that deck, I understand it as a whole. Because, I'd like to play the game. Like any discard deck, like I feel like it was not just discard, it was just, you couldn't even play the game. So
yeah, because the other discard stuff in green doesn't do it as dramatically as Bucky did.
I think especially in concert with all of the Floodborns from Steel it was a lot.
It was a lot, but he will be missed. We'll love him forever. I definitely am now going through an identity crisis myself because I don't know what to play moving forward. I still love Steel. I'll probably continue to play some version of Steel, although listening back to our podcast in the first episode and thinking more about what card really drew me to Lorcana, I would love to make that Hades work in yellow, the one that's King of Olympus.
Yeah.
So just today I built a Amber Sapphire deck that's solely focused on villains. There's 1 or 2 other characters in there that's like allies or songs. Played a little bit against my husband today with it, Alex, and he really liked it. So I think it has legs, and I think depending on what else comes out for Sapphire and for Amber this set, we will see.
That's really fun. Yeah. As I was looking at some of the new cards for the new set, I actually was thinking about building an Emerald Steel deck myself, but more focused on Robin Hood, Actions, and Pete.
Yeah.
So something along those lines, because I really wanted to build an action deck around Pete, and I've attempted it a few times with Emerald and Ruby. But I think with the new locations with Robin Hood and having those steel actions, like the tug of war action that's coming out, I think that would be a really fun combination along with like the discount action items from Emerald.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I love the Sherwood Forest. I know we talked about that last time. That's a really fun location. And if I stick with Green Steel, I would love to play it more and focus more on the Robin Hoods and possibly other characters like Tinkerbell, who just sprays damage on entry. There's another card that was on the top of my head and now I completely forgot it. The Avalanche card from this set was really cool. I don't think I've seen a ton of people play it. I have started seeing it, especially this last weekend at our set championships. Somebody played it in a Ruby Steel deck, which was really fun. It destroyed my Emerald Steel. They played with Li Shang, that's in Ruby, as well as all of the characters now from Mulan in Steel, the Shampoo, and with Ling and Yao. So that was a lot of fun to see. I love seeing new decks that aren't necessarily meta. especially at some championships, because I feel the grind sometimes against Amethyst, Ruby, or even a mirror match with Emerald Steel, or even the Ruby Sapphire decks with Sisu and Ice Block. It just kind of gets boring after a while.
I don't disagree with that. I don't necessarily play a meta deck. So,
yeah.
It has a lot of meta-based cards and meta-based combinations, but card combinations are meant to work together. So, I play healers with damaged characters. I play the Beast and I play Rapunzel. So those cards go together because the healers go with the damaged characters.
Right.
So it's not, I wouldn't necessarily call it meta, but it is a meta combination.
It did do pretty well this weekend.
It really did. So yeah, I was really excited. I built this deck not that long ago and have been doing relatively well. The first time I played with it, I got 18th place, which was not great. And then this past weekend at the new set championships we went to on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, I ended up getting 8th place. So I was in the cut to top 8, and I did lose to the first seed against an Emerald Steel deck. But then I brought it back the second on Sunday, and I ended up coming in second place at that set championship. So I really worked really hard on this deck and built it with my husband, but made all of the changes myself after we made the initial deck.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of myself. I worked really hard for it, and I've gotten a lot better at the deck.
Yeah, well, just practice, and I'm sure those set championships helped with just an array of different decks to throw it against.
Yeah, it really helps, and coming out to the meta to the locals during the week helps me a lot, because I think during locals more people bring out a variety of decks, and set championships people bring more of their tried and true, or something that they know will win, that they might have net decked, or if they had they've just played it over and over again and it's more competitive. But I like to see how my deck goes against other people. So I've been playing an Amber Ruby deck that uses Just in Time and Jim Hawkins and the RLS Legacy as one route. I also have, the Red Frenemy Flynn Rider and Mufasa. I have a Hades to bring characters back from my discard. So it is primarily a character deck with locations and some just in time. So other than the 4 just in time and 7 locations, that's 11 cards out of the deck. The rest of them are all characters. And it's been doing really well.
What are the other locations besides the RLS Legacy?
I have the Pride Lands.
Oh, okay.
So because I have Mufasa and Rare and the Beast and Flynn Rider, so they're all princes and kings, they can help with the discount.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super excited that she did so well. It was awesome to see her win her Ursula card. It's so coveted. That being said, I did pretty good actually on Saturday for my second set championship ever. I don't remember what I placed, but I won at least every game, and it was best of 2.
So you went 1-1.
So yeah, so I went 1-1. A few I went 2-0, which was really exciting. I learned a ton. Most of the people were really friendly in helping me with what mistake I made that would have helped me win the game, and which cost me the game. So I took that to heart and kind of internalized that, and was really excited to go to Sunday and try to see if I could do better. Unfortunately, I was way too tired on Sunday. It was a long day because we spent all day Saturday playing, and then I stayed longer because actually Brittany's husband, Daryl, he won second place on Saturday. So my husband and I, Alex, we stayed to cheer him on and see how that went, but that ended up being from 11 a.m. to 7:30 we got out of there.
Yeah, it was a long day, and then Sunday was equally as long. The tournament started a little bit later in the day, but because of that, I was in the last, I played every game up until the last game. And so I didn't end up leaving until 9:30 at night.
That's insane.
And I was so glad that I'm still on summer break.
Yeah.
I didn't have to go to work on Monday morning. But it was so fun experience.
It was. The vibes were so there at Authority on Saturday. it made me feel welcome by the community because, you know, even though they were very nice asking me if I wanted advice about the deck and how I played, which obviously I welcomed. I do feel sometimes, not especially, but occasionally at locals, will bring a deck that I made, which is fun, and not always want to play test if we're not doing like the actual league. So outside of the league, I'll say, hey, you know, you want to test this deck, you want to play another game, a friendly game, and I get met with, what deck is it? And if it's not necessarily meta, then they don't want to practice against it, which is really disheartening. And I know there's been a lot of discourse on Facebook and on Twitter with other, not just ladies, but other players in general that are more casual, but want to get the practice in or want to work their way to competitive. So glad to bring this topic to our podcast and kind of poke Brittany's brain as a competitive player and what her thoughts are. Is it something we're doing wrong, or should we just push more? I mean, I think just as with the anxiety altogether, I don't want to push as much. So
yeah, so what I am seeing is that, especially in this month, like this is the month where like we are in set championships, we are going to the challenge. And so I think that the competitive players, myself included, we feel that, yes, we might see some random here and there decks that aren't meta. In general, we need to practice against those meta decks with the main like challenges in mind. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's where most of the competitor players are coming from, is we don't not want to play against those decks. It's just bad timing.
I guess I disagree a little bit, because for the people who are casual, who are going to their first set championships, or they're going to Dallas or Fort Worth, that's coming up for their first one, how do they get the practice in then? So I get coming to league and going out and going to your local stores to play, but then when you're wanting to continue your practice, what's one game for you to play against me and help me? And practice is practice no matter what deck you're playing, I think.
No, for sure. I mean, and I will say that I am glad when I do practice against decks that I don't, because you never know what meta decks would have made a few changes card-wise here and there. I will say I played against a purple steel deck. Mm-hmm. That wasn't your Titan deck.
Yeah.
But it was a purple steel deck or amethyst steel deck that really kept me on my toes.
Yeah.
So based on my color in my deck, I was concerned that amethyst steel was going to be a tough matchup for my Amber Ruby, because I don't have a lot of answers for those bounce characters.
Yeah.
But I think that practicing against your Titan deck actually helped me anticipate some of the like the
what could happen.
What could happen.
Yeah. So I think that's great to hear. I love hearing what other people's opinions, and I like to keep this pretty, everybody's opinions are valid. Everybody's feelings are valid. So I know that it's a really big month between the DLC and the set championship. So maybe I should have just taken a step back and said, okay, I don't need to play the people who maybe I don't know as much, and continue trying to practice with friends or my locals, and kind of building up my deck that way.
Yeah. So I think, Stephanie, is because we did go to a smaller group together to play test, and that's what she's kind of mentioning, is like we were with a group that was play testing, and not everyone was play testing in the same manner we were expecting.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody was, the person who hosted it was super welcoming. I love talking to them and his son. They obviously would have played with me had we stuck around, but it was also a short time period too. So it was kind of hard to wait for everybody to because I was thinking if I waited for everybody to get through play testing all the different meta decks that were playing, maybe I could get a game in. But that didn't happen, and that's fine. Like, c'est la vie. I will move on, and I will continue running my deck against my husband's Ruby Amethyst deck, which is brutal and nasty. I think, and it's funny because Alex really hates playing meta decks, and now that Ruby Amethyst is back on top, he's like, I gotta do something else. He's getting the itch to completely start from scratch. But I know he's also trying to try other TCGs and play, and all of us are pulling him back to the dark side of the mouse and continue with Lorcana. So
the dark side of Disney. I don't know if that's. I feel like the other card games are the dark
side.
We are in the light.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the community goes, no, the community is amazing. I was so overwhelmed with just the support there, and everybody like networking and connecting and sharing insights and tips and their lives. It's so cool to see.
Yeah, no, I love this community so much, and I can't say enough about it.
I know.
And I think the farther we get in, the better it's getting. And in general, just like we're building up relationships with card stores. We're building up relationships with other creators. Like our friend Katie, she has Lady Lore and she has stickers, and she's running a blog for our local events, and so she's keeping up with how everybody has done in the set championships and when all of the stores are having their events, and so she hooks that up, and that's great. We have our Discord, and we have this whole network of people, like we're all talking about where we're going in Fort Worth, like are we going to all meet up for dinner, like things like that. And we've done that with other events, and we'll do that with events going forward. So I'm really loving the community we're building.
Yeah, I mean, it's so cool because we are literally recording this podcast right now in a game store. North Valley Games Mesa was gracious enough to let us use their D&D room.
Yeah.
And that's so cool.
Yeah, we're really excited about it because it's much better than our previous recording locations, like my noisy living room and the very hot library recording room that we were in.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to Mufasa and Brittany's deck, I wonder what your feelings are on the blue or sapphire Mufasa coming out soon.
I think that it's an insane mechanic.
It is.
I think that it's a little kitschy. I think that it is easily removed, especially by some ruby removal.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll see it in play. Like, I think that for a lot of people, it might be an alternate Tamatoa route. Instead of playing the item side of blue, they might be playing more of the ink side of blue, and without having to use the items for ink besides Fishbone to get more ink. So that might be interesting, because I do think that blue has a lot of legs on just the inking side versus the item side.
I do too.
And so I think that would be unique. So using that and Belle together, or like having lots of high lore characters for ink would be great. So I know that my husband, who is a big Sapphire player, or was before he got on the Steel Song kick, is very excited to at least explore some more Sapphire cards, because he did enjoy playing Sapphire for so long.
It's fun, yeah.
So I think that'll be fun. I think it will be something that we don't see in all of the Sapphire decks, like we won't see it just like we see a popsicle in every Sapphire.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it'll be unique, and I kind of like it. I think that it will be interesting to play against.
I like that they're going back to the inking aspect of Sapphire rather than, that's part of the reason I left Sapphire, was I did not like focusing so much on the items.
Yeah. No, I think it's going back to its original, set 1 through 3.
Yeah.
With the inking. So some other cards that came out in between. So we have a Minnie Mouse, who is a 1/5. So that's a pretty good stat line. Like, that's a lot of health. And she lures for 2. And so when she explores, the rough translation from the German card, when she lures, right, she removes damage from a character. So I think that's a secondary mechanic, because she can still lure to get that 2 lore.
Yeah.
So, and she's a 4-drop, and she's inkable. So I feel like that's a pretty decent card for Amber. And then we have The End is Near, which is an action. Choose one of your characters and ready them.
I love that.
They can't quest. And if you chose a villain, you can gain a lore. So that would be really great with it's Ruby, so there's lots of villains in Ruby.
Yeah.
Love my Ruby villains. We have just a heavy stat line of Lord Hector from The Sword and the Stone. He's a 7/10. Like
That's insane.
that's insane. He is uninkable, but like that's still like it's a heavy hitter. The blue action, I'm not having fun anymore.
I also love that card.
I just think it's hilarious because it's got Cusco and he's just soaking wet
No.
in the
And he's
rain.
crying.
He is crying.
And Brittany Groove will always have such a soft spot in my heart.
It's so funny. And then you get to choose one of your characters and place it in your inkwell.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
There you go.
it's such a blue action. And then Clarabelle, you know, so she's an item banner, which is, we always love a good item banner. I love a good item banner. That is also a character. I like to have a use and action for it, and love it when it's part of a character's actions. And I like that she's a 1-drop that can do that.
Yeah.
Because especially in, like, because this is an emerald card. Another emerald card that can do that is Wildcat, but he is on 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you need to exert them.
Yeah, and you have to exert them. So this is, you can just pay 2 when you play her to get rid of that item. And then we have Merlin as a turtle. And when he leaves the game, and I believe when he enters, but again, these are some of the ones that are translated roughly, then you get to look. It's basically an item filtering or card filtering card. So pretty good for purple. No, more card draw. Shocking.
More bounce.
Some of the translations and straighten them up. It's hilarious to me when we see how Google translate some of these cards. I know we'll eventually see them all fully in English, but it's pretty hilarious when they initially get translated just by the image.
Definitely.
We also have some really funny Bucky memes in our group chat. But, a steel Pete. So as I was talking about making this emerald steel deck,
love that.
Yes, the steel Pete. So he's a wrestling champ. It looks hilarious. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card named Pete, you may play it for free. So I kind of liked the idea of running the Robin Hoods and the Petes.
Yeah.
And then Emerald Steel, and I think it'd be kind of fun. I like some kitschy, fun things every once in a while, even if it might not be a competitive deck. And it probably won't stay in my deck for long. But I like the spitballing that I can think about. It makes me think about cards in a different way. So in addition to that insane Mufasa, who I think everybody is so excited about, especially my husband. He was like, it has to be an enchanted, which it quite possibly could be.
Yeah.
We also, in the last 2 days, have had several cards released.
Yeah, I think we're going to start seeing a ton because we're so close. I think we're just like 2 or 3 weeks out.
Yeah, we're really close. So we have another Vanilla Beebon Sweets. She's a 2/2. You can get, whenever she quests, an opposing character receives -1 attack. Then we have the Daisy Duck 1/4. Whenever she quests, each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character card, they can put it in their hand. Otherwise, they can put it on the bottom of their deck. That is going to be a great card for aggro decks.
Yeah.
She's a 1-drop who quests for 2. She has 4 health, which is insane.
Yeah. People are going to be picking her up rather than the sad beach girl.
Yeah, sad beach girl. Little Lilo will no longer be there. And then we have another Robin Hood, which is part of the reason why I was excited about making a Robin Hood deck. The Sneaky Sleuth. So he's a shift Robin Hood. So if you still want to play some of that Floodborn action, he's a shift 3, so you can shift him onto the 1-drop Robin Hood from Steel. He gets +1 lore for each opposing damage character in play.
Yeah. So think of that with Tinkerbell or Avalanche
or the
Grab Your Sword,
War card.
Yeah, Tug of War.
So there are lots of, direct damage or like damage across the board cards in Steel that I think that would work really well with. One of my favorite songs from more recent Disney is Try Everything. And so they made that into a card, and I would love that as an enchanted. The art in that card is already so gorgeous. And I know at D23, they're having that artist. They're doing a panel there. And so I wonder if they might reveal, maybe they possibly have an enchanted card of that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, so I love that movie, love that song. Shakira can do no wrong. I think that is... there was a few this morning. So early this morning, there was a Clarabelle.
I love that Clarabelle's definitely getting some love this set. She's not as popular as Mickey, Donald, Goofy, but she's just as great.
Yeah, she's definitely a classic character, even she's not part of the main 5.
Yeah.
6. I forgot Pluto. Didn't count.
How dare you?
I know, how dare I? But yeah, Clarabelle, contented wallflower is her subtext. I love that. Golly, those dancers can really move, playing on her cow elements. When you play this character, if an opponent has more cards in their hand than you may draw a card, and especially in an Emerald deck, all card draw is very important.
Yeah.
The Monstro card. He's just a big...
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he attacks for 5. He has 6 health. Just a good inkable amethyst card. And then we have an Anna who has been roughly translated from Italian into English. So when you play this character, opponent chooses and commits one of their prepared characters. What exactly that means in English, we will find out soon enough. But I think in general, it's about her being able to exert another character similar to the Elsa card, also an amethyst. So I think that's pretty much it for cards that have been released. Yeah, previous episode. I'm sure that there'll be more released in between. We do have a release for set 6 that got mentioned today for the D23 set. He will probably be a regular card as well. The Oswald Lucky Rabbit card.
Love him.
Love it so much because it looks like he's pulling back the screen on the card and pulling back just like the character Oswald. And so what his action is insane. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell in Sapphire, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an item card, you may play that item for free and they enter play exerted. Otherwise, put it in the bottom of your deck. That is insane. It is a perfect Sapphire card. I really appreciate the fact that he only has 1 health because that's insane.
It really is.
But it's going to be a fun card. That's all the way in set 6 though, so we're not going to see him for a few months at least. So definitely getting very excited for this new set coming out soon. We will definitely talk about all of the cards at some point when all of that is happening.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. Brittany and Daryl are going to Fort Worth this weekend, so next episode we'll definitely talk about their time there.
Yeah.
Very excited. I know they got the events they wanted to do, which were, do you remember?
Yeah, so we signed up for Constructed on Friday, just to kind of get ourselves in the mindset. On Saturday, we're playing the main event on Saturday, and then on Sunday, we did sign up for Constructed early in the morning on Sunday. We are hoping we don't have to keep that, though, because we're so well on Saturday that on Sunday we're going to not play side events. However, we pre-registered for those just so that we had a spot in those events, so we can still earn the tickets for all the fun merchandise that's there.
I'm really excited for you guys. It should be a good time. And then on Monday, it goes live for Vegas, and I'm hoping we all get to go to that, which will be amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited. There's a lot of us going from Phoenix to the Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a good time. And my family's from Texas, so I'm excited to see some family members while we're out there.
Yeah. Hopefully it won't be too humid and hot.
Yeah, that's not going to be it's going to be very hot, but it won't be a dry heat like it is here in Phoenix.
It's a dry heat, sure. Still hot.
So I do want to talk about my experience as a competitive Lorcana player with these set championships and in general with very long tournaments. Now, I haven't been to the big event yet, but I'm going soon. So I will definitely be giving some tips based on that when we get back. However, for our local set championships, it is a very long day.
Yeah.
So in addition to all the tips we talk about in episode 2 about being prepared for yourself, we didn't really talk about the mental grind that goes into playing all day. Because although you're not being physically active, that does take a toll on your body, right? Just sitting around. It is exhausting to constantly be thinking about cards. It's a lot of thought process and adapting to the player across from you. And so that's one of those things that you need to think of ways to calm yourself in between rounds, to calm yourself if it didn't go well, right? Like, I know that we encountered several players this weekend that when they didn't have a good round,
they got visibly upset.
And that's okay. It's perfectly understandable to be upset, like when you're not doing well in a game. But one of the things that I really try to do for myself is think about deep breathing and not taking it personally, because it is a game, but it is a game that we really want to do well at. But it is not your whole identity.
No.
Like, we're podcasting for Lorcana, and we're not saying that's our whole identity. And so wrapping your self-worth up into your ability to play cards, which I feel like a lot of players seem to be doing, is not the route to go. It's definitely something that you want to focus on. How can I improve?
Yeah.
And how can I use my losses to better my deck, to use my losses to better how I react to losing.
Yeah.
There are players that we play against on a very regular basis, because we play with the same community, that don't react well when they lose.
Yeah, and it just makes your opponent feel terrible for winning.
Yeah, and I feel like as a player that was on the winning side of some of those, it's rough, because I'm trying to be excited that I'm winning, but when you overreact to losing, it does make the game less fun.
Sour. I mean, this is a Disney card game. You are playing with princesses in hand and amongst kids and so many ladies too that are coming out and playing, and men and everybody. And I just think if we're all just a little bit more cognizant of whether you're winning or losing, how your opponent is feeling, to take a step back and think, okay, you can either do better next time or just take a step away in general. I do think there is something to be said about a little bit of the FOMO, like, oh, I have to go to every set championship, or I have to play to love this game or to be a part of this community. I know that's something I have been struggling with. Alex definitely went to his first championship on Saturday and said, this is not for me. The all-day grind killed him. He does not like it. He will not be going to another one. He wants to go to Vegas to play the side events with me as an attendee, but I was proud of him for being able to say, yeah, that was great. And he even was winning, but just the all-day grind, the mental load it took on him was just not it.
No, and it's not for everyone.
No.
I will say I'm glad we don't do it every weekend.
Yeah.
Like, it is definitely, like, the month of July has been a lot of Lorcana, and we're not done with it yet. Like, we still have the challenge, and then we still have the following weekend when we get back from the challenge is more set championships.
Back to back, too.
So back to back, yeah. So the fact that we have so many, and that was a personal choice, we didn't have to do it that way, is definitely taxing. It's very taxing.
I think that's part of the reason I got exhausted and I was done on Sundays. I thought I could do back to back. And I've realized I like going to the set championships. I probably won't grind it out as much as other people. If I don't get a Stitch or an Ursula or whatever the card is, that's fine. I went to one and I had fun. So I was happy. I tapped out, or about round 3, I think it was. I said, take the win. I'm done. I'm going home. I'm spending time with my kids and not thinking about Lorcana.
What? You mean your whole life isn't Lorcana?
No, it's not. But my whole life is making friends and I shouldn't say my whole life, but I do enjoy making friends. So I do get the FOMO of like, well, if I don't see these people every week, like they are seeing each other every week, then am I a part of this community? And I think as long as you are open and saying hello when you go to the league, when you can go to league or when you can go to set championships, you'll be fine. 9 times out of 10, you'll be met with happiness and smiles and greetings. And I'm still learning everybody's name and still learning the community, but they're already like, oh, I know you and you're Brittany's friend and Alex is your husband and this and that. And you have 2 small girls, right? And so that's great.
No, it's great. I still get Daryl's wife a lot, but in general, we have a few friends that are like, well, you're the more famous one now that you have a podcast.
I know. We love that you guys have been approaching us. That's so fun. Especially for me as an introvert, I don't approach people very well. So when you guys do approach me, you can find I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. I love speaking to you. The anxiety and the introvert in me is like, no, I can't do it. What if they hate me? But no, I think go into a set championship if you want. And if you find that you just don't like it and their mental grind is too much, that is okay. You do not have to go.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's a long day. Like it's very different than league. Like it's a similar setup to a lot of like the local leagues that are more competitive.
Yeah.
However, like those are normally like 3 or 4 rounds. This is like, these were 5 rounds on Saturday, 5 rounds on Sunday, and then that doesn't include the cut to top 8. So it's a long, long day.
It is. And again, going back to Brittany's point, if you're losing or winning, just like be a good sport. We were taught that very young in life to be good sports and show good sportsmanship. There was quite a few people that came to our store on Sunday from another store because the vibes were not there, because people were getting upset and grinding and playing and just being overall kind of nasty, especially to the kids that were playing there, which is so not cool, guys. We are here to play a Disney card game, or even if you're playing One Piece or Magic or whatever it is, you guys are here to enjoy a card game with other people around you.
Yeah,
and build your
even
community.
If you're there to try and win.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the way you play can be aggressive. Like, that is something that I've noticed is like people that I play with at leagues locally, like sometimes approach it in a more aggressive manner at the set championships, which I get. It's more intense. It's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot more writing on it, especially if you have it in your head that you need to have this card and mat, which I was saying that beforehand that I really wanted one. And I was so happy that Daryl, my husband, he won one on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so we were excited for the household. And then I came and I won one on Sunday. So it was definitely a great weekend for our household. But even if we hadn't won, we would have been okay. Some of the other players that are not, that were also trying to win those things were more aggressive in the way that they were playing and the way that they were talking about things with how their game is going.
Yeah. No, just be cool, guys. Chill out. Take a relaxing pill or whatever it is you did. Take some deep breaths and just enjoy the game. It's so much fun when you enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Because then you get to, and I know I've said enjoy the game a lot, but then you actually get the full experience then out of it.
Yeah, because for me, like, I enjoy winning.
Yeah, you like diamonds.
Right? Winning is fun. But I like the game itself. I like how the cards interact.
Yeah.
I like being able to think on my feet and adjust to what the other player is doing. I like playing the Ursula game, even if it's more difficult to play against her, right? I like the different versions of this game. I like having to build a random deck for a theme night. I think that when we think about cards in general, we need to think about how the cards interact with each other, which colors are interacting. How would I build a Sapphire Emerald deck? How would I build a Ruby Amethyst deck, right? Like everybody can build them in different manners. Yes, there are so many of the meta decks and the things that people are playing just the same decks over and over again. And that is exhausting as both, I'm sure, as a player who's playing that deck, but also as a player who plays against it. Like, that's part of the reason why I'm not sad about the squirrel going is because I feel like it really limited what players could play. Like, I feel like every other deck besides that deck had to have Ruby or Steel to answer that deck. And so I think it really limited the rest of the colors in the set.
For sure.
But I'm hoping that this next set kind of brings more balance back into that, and back into the game. And I think that it's going to how it's going to happen anyway. That's how all TCGs go. Like, all of them have to make card changes based on which cards are being released. It's not a new thing that cards are getting changed, or that cards might get banned. Like, that's not something that is unheard of for a card game.
They want to keep it competitive. They want to be able to have new players and casual players play it still. So no, it's not at all.
Yeah, and I see where they're coming from, because it was not a fun deck to play against, and so
I liked playing the deck. I feel in some part I was forced to play it just to be able to compete enough to learn how to compete competitively, if that makes sense.
No, I don't,
because what I was doing was not working.
Yeah, no, and I had to completely change from the colors that I was on because of that squirrel.
Yeah.
Like, I was never winning against it. Now, my deck currently, that is still its weakest deck, because when you can't play cards,
what do you do?
It's hard to play the game. Like I can top deck as much as I can, but like, if I can't play those cards regularly and then have them still be removed with the steel removal on top of having no cards in hand, it's just a very frustrating way to play as a player.
Yeah.
I was finding ways around it most of the time, but not all of the time, and especially not all of the time if they had like the perfect opening hand. Turn 1, baby Diablo, see your hand. Turn 2, shift Diablo and play Bucky. Like, it's just...
I did something so nasty where I turned 1, played Diablo, they saw my hand, then I discarded and just shifted on turn 1, and the player just looked at me like, I concede, I don't know what to do, that sucks. Which was fun, because I didn't even know that was I didn't even think that was something I could do until the previous day when somebody said, why don't you try to do this? And then I did it, and it felt great. And I was like, great, I have a competitive edge. And then to see the face on my opponent just fall and feel like they couldn't even compete, that was not fun for me either.
Yeah, no, that's part of why I never played that deck, is I didn't like the way it felt. I think I played it once online and I just did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that it is a different play style, right? And you have to find a style that works for you. Like, at the beginning of this, I really enjoyed playing, like in the early game, I liked playing evasive aggro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I played fast. I do enjoy playing fast because I like having time in between rounds.
I miss having the time in between rounds.
Yeah, no, the time in between rounds is really important to me. This current deck does not allow me to have very much of that, because it does take longer to play. But I am enjoying it excessively, because Jim Hawkins is one of my absolute favorite cards, especially with the RLS Legacy. And so, turn 3, being able to play Justin Time, Jim Hawkins, Jim Hawkins, and the RLS Legacy on turn 3 is brutal.
It's mean.
It is a little mean, but there are answers for it, unlike the squirrel. So
yeah,
I am enjoying it, and it's winning. So, I mean, that's not the point of the deck, but I do enjoy winning. So.
Yes. No, it's great. And moral of the story, just do what makes you guys comfortable. Don't feel like you have to do one thing because it feels like everybody else is doing it. And also, like, be more open to new players and more casual players and more decks that are not on the meta, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
we're starting to see a lag in that. I think I'm starting to feel some of the other TCG community seep in with that, where like nobody wants to play unless you're playing a meta deck, or nobody is having fun if they're not winning, and that's not what I feel like our Lorcana community has been built upon. So stop it.
I don't necessarily feel that it's as big of a problem. I think that there are more decks out there than there have been.
Yeah.
Yes, in the competitive scene over the last few weeks, we've seen very a set few types of decks, but there are a smattering of other decks in there that are still doing pretty well. So I'm really excited to see how set 5 will change things, because every set is changing which cards and which decks are the most playable. And really excited to tell everybody about my husband and I's experience at the Fort Worth Challenge, and talk more about card releases. In some upcoming episodes, we'll talk about how decks interact with other decks, and we'll talk about this community from another perspective. My sister-in-law is going to come and be a guest speaker on our podcast from a judge perspective.
She's judged all 3, right? So
she has judged every challenge so far. So she will be on our podcast in a few weeks after this upcoming challenge.
And after she gets some rest after that.
Some rest, and she has to start learning all of the set 5 cards and all the rules for those cards for upcoming challenges as well. So we'll talk to her and see things from her perspective.
Yeah, I'm really excited she's coming on and talking to everybody. I think it'll be fun to see a judge perspective. I'm curious with just how involved it is and the process of it all.
No, I'm
very excited.
I have lots of questions for her.
I know we keep saying we're excited, but we're excited.
We're excitable people, so that's okay. But we want to, again, thank North Valley Games Mesa for hosting us for our podcast.
Yes, go check them out. They play all kinds of games. They play board games. They play D&D. Come check them out in Phoenix or in Mesa.
Yes. And we would love to thank our listeners again.
Yes.
Please make sure you like us and subscribe to us on whatever podcast you are listening to, whatever podcast app you're listening to. We also have social media, so follow us on Instagram and X. And if you have any suggestions or Twitter, if you have any suggestions or things you would like for us to talk about in future episodes, please message us on those social medias.
Yeah.
Or email us at thelorcanamuses@gmail.com.
Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.